In 2001, Rick co-created The Bigger Game. The Bigger Game is a tool that inspires people from all walks of life to get out of their comfort zones and invent the life they want. Rick is also the author of Play Your Bigger Game. 9 minutes to learn, a lifetime to lead. As a trusted advisor for Fortune 100 companies, small businesses, nonprofits, and churches, he has built a global audience, speaking and conducting workshops in more than 17 countries. I'm eager to know a little more about your coaching path and how you became this well-known coach.
Well, thank you for, first of all, naming that I'm a well-known coach. Was living in New York City, actor, ran into a guy named David Darst at a workshop, personal growth workshop at the time. And the short story is he had me then go meet his wife, who was like a counselor for actors, helping actors with the business of the business.
Okay.
And so I met Cynthia Lloyd Darst at the time. This was, I don't know, 22 years ago, 23 years ago. And this organization was called the Actors Information Project. It was basically like the forefront of coaching. It was helping people in the acting industry or the entertainment industry how to get work. We could do a monologue, but getting work was a whole different conversation.
Okay.
So she was assigned to me as the first counselor, as my first counselor. Subsequently, I met Henry Kimsey House, who was a co-founder of that organization. So I met, two key players early on in the game of this thing called coaching. They moved west to California. Henry met Laura Whitworth, met Karen Kimsey House. They weren't married at the time, obviously. They formed the Coaches Training Institute. Cynthia called me and said, I think you should do one of these workshops. I think they're amazing. I did the workshop. The rest is sort of history. And and just to be clear, in the beginning it was like a startup, like an entrepreneurial startup of the self-help industry. And early adopter that I was, we were making stuff up. We were trying different ways to train the workshops. We were practicing our coaching skills, and one client at a time. Here we are talking to you 23 years later. And I just want to speak to, why it took off so much is people are hungry to talk to somebody about their life and don't need to be analyzed about their life or don't need to be told what to do with their life.
Yes.
That's sort of consulting, tell you what to do. Therapy world, a little bit of the, let's analyze a little bit your life. And we didn't even know that people wanted to talk about their lives like this. And so as coaching unfolded, man, there was a hunger for it, and we just couldn't, in the early years, couldn't keep up. I was away more than not leading coaching workshops. So I know that's a little bit of a longer answer maybe than you wanted, but here we are in, I don't know how many, 28 countries, CTIs in 28 countries, and tens of thousands of participants later.
Yeah.
So huge industry, which I know you're a part of.
Yes. And I loved your analogy about people didn't want it to be either analyzed or told what to do.
Right.
And yeah, that's a beautiful analogy of what coaching does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's like in the middle, it's like in the middle round. And there's a whole spectrum of personal development conversations that need to happen. Therapy is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Consulting is a beautiful thing. Well, on the spectrum of support conversations, something was missing, and we call it coaching.
Next question, Rick, is about your book. Play Your Bigger Game.
You mean that?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That. So tell us about the book, who can help, and how it can help.
Absolutely. Well, to your question about coaching, this was birthed out of working with literally tens of thousands of people. And I want to be very upfront about this. This was co-created with Laura Whitworth. Laura Whitworth was one of the co-founders of CTI.
Yes.
So, I don't know, about 10 years into coaching, she and I started to talk about what was having some of our coaching clients be more successful than others.
Okay.
What were the distinguishing qualities or sort of values they were honoring, or what was going on that had this person be more successful than this person? And we made up this thing called the bigger game.
Okay.
Out of, you know, what was going on in that person that had them be successful. So it's a philosophy, it's a methodology, if you will, of looking at life. It's a way to look at life. And I think the sort of core belief of the bigger game is we all desire to have a positive impact with our life. You know, we're not just here to take and die, you know.
Right.
We're here to sort of have a positive impact with our life.
To thrive.
To thrive, right. And we will, the philosophy is if you're playing a bigger game, you will then thrive. Because it'll feel so good, it'll be compelling for you. And it's about doing something that's bigger than you know how to do.
Okay.
We tend to get stuck in life about the things that we know how to do. Think of a job. You know, you go off and do a job, and you do your job, and then you make some money, and you go home. Not a bad life, but we were looking at people in our coaching practices, and the ones who were the most alive and the most dynamically connected to life were up to something that mattered, and they didn't quite know how to make it real. So bigger implies something that you don't quite know how to do, but you're compelled to want to do it. It became a philosophy and a methodology, and now what's amazing about this work is it's turned itself into workshops. It's now a team building workshop that I do for organization, IBM. We were doing it inside IBM for many years. I do it now for other global Fortune 100 companies.
My next question is about the intimate event, the Bigger Game Expo. So tell us all about it.
Well, thank you for asking about it. It's the thing that I think we're most excited about. So the Bigger Game, the book was done, the Bigger Game workshop was successful. Chuck and I, my business partner and I said, okay, what do we want to do now? What does this want to turn itself into?
Okay.
And because we touched a lot of people with the workshops around the world, and we thought, let's create an event where we bring people together and have people experience people talking about a bigger game that they're playing in their lives. So we all know the success of a TED conference.
Right.
You know, TED Talks and that whole thing. Wildly successful. And wildly inspired by that kind of work. And so we said, well, what's our version of that? So, and I'm really like things to be fun and playful, and so one of my, this sounds like a weird leap, but it does relate. One of my mentors, if you will, or sort of inspiring people in my life is Ellen DeGeneres.
Yes.
You know, brings a lot of life and joy to our world, right?
Yes.
So I feel the same way. I want to do that with my life. So a conference, imagine a TED conference meets the Ellen show.
Oh, beautiful.
So there's that's the kind of event we're creating, and we have many people speaking at it, if you will. They're going to do interactive, personal development kind of little mini workshops. We have a couple that we're most excited. Well, we're excited about everybody. Here's what's true. A couple of them are just a little more famous than others, but they're all doing remarkable work because the criteria to have them come speak is they are playing a bigger game with their life.
Yes.
They are doing something that's quite extraordinary. Whether the scale of it doesn't matter, but they're compelled to do something with their life that matters.
Okay.
So Elizabeth Gilbert, the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love,
Yes.
has now become quite the speaker, quite the motivational, dynamic human that she is these days. She's just off the Oprah tour. We got her for this conference. We're very excited. She has a new book coming out that she's going to talk about at our
At the
conference. Yeah, which is called, the name of the book is called Big Magic. And it was so ironic. It wasn't planned that she's going to come to a Bigger Game conference talking about big magic. It was like we invited her, and then she told us like 3 months later, oh, by the way, I'm writing this new book called Big Magic. Like, oh my gosh, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
So synchronistic moment.
Yes,
you know,
synchronicity.
So. And then just to name a couple of other folks, Lee Woodruff is the wife and a great author of Bob Woodruff. Bob Woodruff was the guy on ABC News. He was going to be the key anchor on ABC News, and was in Iraq, and one of the bombs went off in his little Jeep or his tank. I think he was in a tank. Horrible situation, you know, kind of blown off the side of his head. Anyway, survived it, has gone on to recover, back on ABC News. They wrote an amazing book about it, and now their bigger game is around really helping veterans when they come back. Recover, exactly. So that's a whole bigger game. And then just to name, I just want to name one other. Met this fabulous woman, Krista Jones is her name. She goes to my brother's church, okay? Wildly vivacious, dynamic woman. And she's about, she just started cooking meals for the caregivers of people with cancer, like one meal at a time.
Nice.
Not a big project, right? But it has become a big project. So all of a sudden people started to get hear about it. They're like, how can I help? It's turned into a big nonprofit organization for herself. You know, we chatted with her a couple weeks ago down in Lower State New York, and she's just talking about this thing is just exploding, which is a classic sort of example of a bigger game. Something gets created, and it might not look big in the beginning, but it has such a hunger for it in the world that it just wants to go.
Expand.
Like expand on itself, on its own, if you will. So she's going to speak, and you know, as I said, many others to come to share. But we're so excited to have people come. And just to name this, you know, a person who might want to think about coming to something like this is, first of all, people who are want to be around like-minded people, people who are sort of, I want to do something with my life. I just want to go through life, to use your language, to want to thrive in life. And so to be motivated by these people, to be inspired by these people, to be in conversation with these people, is the type of conference we wanted to create. So it's going to feel very intimate, you know, lots of connection with these people and people connecting with each other. And then I think one of the most fun things I think we're excited about is this is beautiful Lake George, where it's going to happen. One of the nights we've rented a big, huge boat. We're going to have like wine and cheese cruise night on the lake.
Very tempting.
Yeah, very excited about that. So we're very excited about that. It's our second one. The first one was wildly successful. We said we have to do it again. You know, and our vision is a couple thousand people eventually. You know, this one won't be that, but we really want to get it to a point of
where it gets there.
You know, and just to. And one more thing about it for me, I think one of the reasons I want to do it is it's just so fun to produce something like this, to create an event where people laugh, learn, cry, be inspired, come together, connect.
Yes.
You know, it's like all the elements that matter to me the most come together. You know, so a little bit of theater, we're going to sing. I mean, we're going to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Nice.
So there's a lot of information about our cool thing called the Bigger Game Expo, but we're excited about it. So thank you for asking.
Thank you. So you heard about it, the Bigger Game Expo, June 11th through the 14th.
Upstate New York, just so people know where it is.
Upstate New York, yes.
Beautiful Lake George.
Media exposure. I'm eager to learn a little more the secrets and you know the key elements to gain media exposure. Yeah,
I think it's a great question. I think there's so many different answers to this question, and I don't know if they're secret, but I think one of the tips that I keep learning over and over again, by the way, is what is it you're addressing? Like, what is the topic that I'm addressing out in the world? Like the other day I was watching somebody online, and you know, their topic was about loss. You know, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a husband or a wife or a family member. And you know, that was their sort of niche. You know, and then you start to become a subject matter expert of that particular niche. And then what, you know, the media then goes, oh, this is a topic we should address, and who do we get? Oh, we'll go get the expert.
Check out Rick Tamlyn at www.ricktamlyn.com or www.biggergameexpo.com.